So let's get on with building our first page. We're going to nip along to pages, and the first page we want to build is the home page. And so we're going to click edit here. Now usually once we've edited with our page builder Elementor, we would have edit with Elementor here, which is great. But first of all, we just need to click edit. And wonderful, now the page is loaded, and instead of editing in here, which is the default WordPress editor, and you would click here and say like, okay, I want to add a heading, I'd like to add a list, or where's paragraph? Oh, paragraph there, or you might use one of these blocks to add an image. We're going to use page builder, the page builder Elementor. So we're going to click on that, and yes, leave. You wouldn't usually have that notice. It's because I messed around with the default editor. The Elementor editor is opening up right now, and here we go. As is typical with WordPress, we have our working area, and then we have the interface here. I'll just quickly note for you that if we hide the panel, we see more of what the desktop view is, which means that when the panel is there, this is a bit squashed up. It doesn't fully represent the desktop view. So on the Mac, at least, it's Command --, and I just bring that out a little bit to 80%. So it looks more as it would on a desktop without an interface squashing it up. Okay, so I have a thorough introduction to Elementor on my channel, and you're able then to just have a thorough look at how pages are created, what sections mean, and all of that. It gives you a thorough understanding of it. Again, we're going to learn by doing and start flying around a little bit, but watching that video would really help you. And again, it's one where you watch rather than do, so you can have a cup of tea and just up your familiarity with the various functions. So the first thing we need to do is create a section, which we will then be able to fill with all of these little gizmos and gadgets, such as our headings and our images. So we want to click here, and then we can choose the column structure of that section. Now, obviously, for a big hero image, it's called, or a banner image, most people call it, we only need one column. And so we're going to select this here. Okay, now we can see that the section goes from the left to the right, but there's a gap either side. Now immediately the first thing we want to do is make it nice and full width, so we can see that the boundaries of the section go all the way across. That means that our image will fill the screen. The next thing we want to adjust is the height. So you'd already have noticed that this is how we control all the aspects of our design. We've got 3 tabs which are important to know. We've got the layout, so everything that concerns layout and structure. We've got the style, so we can start to color and style things. And then we have advanced, which is a bit scary, but we'll get there. And the main thing you'll use in advanced is margin and padding. And then perhaps if you'd like some animations, we use motion effects. But let's go back to layout. And we've already sorted the width with full width section. Now we would like to go to the height, and we can do default, which means that if we put something in there that was 200 pixels tall, the section would be big enough and only big enough to fit that in. So it would be 200 pixels tall. We would like to define a minimum height of 500. Obviously you might change that in your own designs. That's totally fine. All of these we will get to later on, but obviously right now we'll learn by doing. Okay, so once we've made some changes that we're happy with, we're going to click update, and that's saved that. Now built into that page is a section which is full width and 500 pixels tall. Now you might notice that we've got the title showing here, which is a bit frustrating. Now that's coming from the theme, and it shouldn't be there. We don't want that. What we want is our Elementor design to be flush with this header. This is the content area, which we can fill up with Elementor, but we need to tell the theme to get rid of that title area. So we're going to go to our other tab and hit customize on our theme. And then these are all the theme options for Blocksy. And what we want to do is go down to layout of our page. So we're going to go to pages because we're wanting to control the structure and layout of our page. And you see we've got page title. I'm going to toggle that one. And before I toggle something else, I'll just quickly show you. So I'll hit publish. Let's go back to our Elementor builder, and I'm going to hit the refresh button. It's reloading the editor. The world hasn't died and the sky hasn't caved in. But you'll see now the title has disappeared, which is fantastic. But look at this. We've still got this gap between the top of the section and the header. How do we sort that out? Well, we need to go down here to content area vertical spacing. The description makes sense. And you can see here that we've got a demonstration of it. We've got the top and the bottom has a gap. We could choose this one where there's only a space at the top. We could choose this one where it's only at the bottom, or we can take complete control and click this one. We just disable vertical spacing. Hit publish. And then click refresh to be more clear. And there we go. Look at this. The top border of our section is now completely flush with that header. So we've gotten rid of all of that vertical spacing and the title space. So now when we make something with Elementor, it's just going to be a nice seamless move into the header and no annoying website background in a vertical space. Okay, so now that that's nice and flush, we would like to make the hero image, or banner image, many people call it. And so what we're going to do, because we would like some layers on top of it, we would like the image to take up the full width and the full height, and then we would like some text on top of it, and then a call to action button. And so what we're going to do is make the background of this section be our image. So we click on the section here and ensure that we have this on the interface. And then we're not changing a layout structure, we're changing something to do with the style. So if we click on style, and then you'll see we have background. So this is fantastic. We're going to change the background style of the section. Now we have classic, gradient, video. Yes, you can have video background, or slideshow. So we're going to go with classic at the moment. And let's take a look at this. We can click on the color and go, whoa. We now have a red background, or we can make it, green. We can use a gradient and go a bit disco. So, fling that around a bit. Using these will help you get used to how they work. But right now, we just simply want to undo that, clear it, and we're going to use an image. So click on this and we have access to the images that we uploaded earlier. Great. This is the one I'd chosen for the banner image or the hero image, and then I would insert media. And look at that. It already looks quite striking. But now we have to tend to some of the background image properties or attributes, whatever you call them, just so that we can make it look perfect. So the way we do this, still in the background and style section, is we first look at position. Now, if I go center, it's going to bring the center of the image into the center of the box, which is somewhere along the right lines. However, if I change the height of this, it just doesn't pull focus unless we have it very tall. It doesn't pull focus to what we might want, which is the woman doing the yoga. And so that would dictate that we need to have the minimum height to be 660 or around there. We would like it to be, I'm going to say 550 actually. So going back to the style tab, I just wanted to show you. The other option we have is to actually position it bottom center. And what that does is it brings the bottom of the image to the bottom of the box, or div you'd call it if you were coding. And then we've got it positioned center. So if we did bottom left, you see that it's bringing the left and bottom, the left of the image to the left of the box, and the bottom of the image to the bottom. So it positions it that way. We can also swing it along, and then a step to the right. Not my best singing. Would you believe I used to be a singer on stage, and that's how I made a living? Anyway, so we're going to go with bottom center. Okay, that's fantastic, but we've still got an issue here where we would like the edges to meet the edges. And so what we need to do is repeat, no repeat. That's great, but it's still not full width. So what we need to do there is cover. We take the size and we make it cover the box. So if we do stuff like contain, you'll see that it restricts the image to the box. It contains it. We would like it to cover, and then it will cover that image using some of these rules that we've given to it. And so that's how we can sort of define the hero image. I'm going to say I want to quickly make that a bit bigger and make it 600. Nope, or 6,000. No. That's quite good. Okay, I'm feeling quite happy with that. The last thing I'll show you is that you can take attachment here and you can fix it, and that makes it so that it's a bit sort of parallaxy. It's not parallax, but it does create a nice little image, a nice little move there. But these then don't really work, so that doesn't look too fantastic. Not in this instance anyway. If you have a pattern background, that can look great, but it doesn't suit every occasion. Okay, I'm quite happy with that, and that's how you change the background of your section. Okay, so now what we would like to do is add a headline over the top of this image. So this is how we access all of the different elements or widgets. We click on the dots up here, and then we can see that we've got heading there as one of the basic elements. And so then we drag that in to our column. Great. Now you'll notice that the layout tab has disappeared because we have selected an element right now. So we're not in a column where we have layout, style or advanced, and we're not looking at a section where it's also the same. We're dealing with one of the elements, and so we have content, style and advanced. So to deal with the content here, we can change what it actually says. So what would we like? We would like become the piece you would like to project. Cool, I like that. And we're going to center align that, and we've got an HTML tag of h2 right there. That's okay because it's going to be quite big, and we'll leave that as it is. Yeah, we'll leave that on default. Okay, so now we go to the style because we would like that to look a bit different. Now, obviously, it's your choice what you're wanting to do in terms of your colors and the style and your typography. The one thing I would say is that there will come a point where you want to use global colors, which are colors that we set within Elementor or within our theme, so that we can only use a few colors. It helps with branding and styling. The other element of that is that you see here in typography that we've got default. Now we're dealing with a heading here, and we haven't yet set our global heading styles. So what that means is that within the theme, we might say that every heading should be the font Century Gothic or Railway, and we set that as the default theme. And so we want to do that right now. My usual workflow is to do that before getting into the design, but I wanted us to move forward with actual design, and we will take care of that a bit later. So leave it on default, but you can see that you could choose any font that you wish. So we can change this back to default later, to be honest, but I'm going to go with so Montserrat. I spelled it wrong. I spelled it incorrectly. There we go. I think that'll be nice. And then we can change the size. Now, I would say go with pixels. I work with pixels quite a lot, to be honest. I don't think there's anything wrong with it because you can take care of it in responsive settings. Now that actually looks quite nice. That's great. But what we might want to do is that the color actually does work quite well. But I'm going to choose a whiter color. So again, you just click on the color there, and I would like it to be something like that. Now down here you also have opacity, so watch, if I just bring that down, you see that it becomes a bit more subtle and transparent is the word. So you might like that, and now that works when the typography is a bit bigger, and so I'm going to push that up. Ooh, Okay, that looks quite nice. And then we have some things here that we can change, such as line height. Now that reaches a limit at 100. So if we go to EM and we set it that way, we have a bit more control there. That looks quite nice, but there's something that's not working in terms of just how readable it is, which is unfortunate. So I'm going to go to text shadow, and that looks a bit better. We can change the opacity of that a bit, so it makes it more forceful, but I actually quite like that. Oops. And then go to the opacity again. Bring it up a little bit, so it's very subtle. Now I quite like that. If we were to go to the section and layout, we can have column position here. So we can go top, we can go stretch, which means that it would stretch the column the whole way. We can do the middle, or we can do the bottom. Now I actually plan to put a call to action button there, so I'm going to leave it at middle and see how we go along with that. But you see also you've got some options here that you might want to start playing with now you've got content there. So the next thing to do is add a button. So I'm going to click on the elements here and then drag a button into the space. Cool, we have a button already. That's how simple that is. And you can see that we might want to do something like contact. So if I started to write contact, it actually brings up our contact page. If I thought that they should go to the services, I could do that. Alternatively, you can actually paste a URL there. So I'm just going to put a hash sign there for now, just to show that it's a link. And a call to action should be something very specific. So not just something like chat now or get in touch, but I'm going to put something like book now. Now you can change the style of the button, which is fine, but there's no real need to do that. If we leave it on default, we can style buttons in the theme and it keeps it consistent across the site. So just like typography, we don't really need to be styling it here. We can leave that to default global settings. At least we don't want to style it with just one of these. We would want to style it ourselves, but some global settings will take effect, such as styling it to a global color and things like that. But for now, let's do some design. The first thing I would like to do is change the padding. Now the padding is the inside area, and I would like to increase that, but to different values. So I'm going to unlink this, because if I click in there and I do 20, it puts 20 into all of these different sections, and that puts 20 pixels of padding from the text to the edge of the box. If I increase that, it does that all the way. But now watch, if I do link values and I bring that down to 20, you can see that everywhere else has 50 and the bottom only has 20. That's great, but I think I would like to change that a bit more. So I'm going to go with 20 and then 25, 25. It's not as much as I would like, actually. I think a nice big button would really suit this, because I'm going to increase the size as well of the text. So that's cool. I'll leave it like that for now. And let's do, again, this is just to have some design experience. We could set these throughout the site with more global settings. Oh, quite like that. So 28, and then we're going to give it a bit more weight. Actually, that's too weighty for the vibe, so bring that down. I think that does the job. Okay, so we can change a number of other things here. So I'm going to give it a border of 2 pixels. I think that looks quite nice, and by default it's white, but I will set it to be that anyway. And then you see the background here. I'm not loving the background, So let's click on the background of the button. So click. Oh, I could make that white, but that would be silly. But watch this. So now what we've done is made it look a bit glassy. If we had a gradient, okay, I think that looks quite nice. Now, really with a call to action, you would often want it to be a louder color or a contrast accent color. But, you know, for this, I think this looks quite nice, and I'm going to go with aesthetic for the time being. Okay, so looking at that, I think that's looking quite nice. It's looking quite striking. So we've got a background image, a header that brings us into what the image is about, and then we've got a call to action. But it's looking a bit squashed up at the minute. So we want to bring a bit more space in there, and this is when some of the advanced settings come in terms of our interface here. So let's go to advanced. Now remember that padding was concerned with the inside area. But what we want to look at is the margin, and the margin is concerned with the outside area to the next object. And so what we'd like to do is, with the button selected, and we're going to uncheck this one, we'd like to increase the space between the top of this element, the button, and the bottom of the next element. So we're going to increase that margin, so we can just start yanking that up. And because we unchecked that chain, it's not changing the values of the other sides. So we could do that to something like 60. And that already looks a lot better. That's quite nice. So that's often how you would get some spacing that looks a bit nicer. However, I would like to also show you that we can do that within the section settings as well to some degree. So if we go along to the section, and then we go to column position and stretch, that's quite good. Well, vertical align and space around. You can see that that actually looks a lot nicer, that the space is distributed between the elements and it has a nice balance to it. The reason why that's cool is because if we were to change our minimum height, it would keep the same sort of value and design. We wouldn't have to mess around with those independent margins. And actually, I really like that. So we're going to stick with 660. We could leave it as 664, but oh, I quite like that. That looks nice. If we were to select this as middle, you can see that the column position, it squashes them together and it doesn't really work. You can toggle all these and see what sort of works, but space between and stretch, oh, wrong. Space around and stretch seems to be a nice combo. You could still adjust the margins of these and change things and experiment. But for me right now, I think that works really quite well. So that is how you can create that first banner image. Now, again, if you're creating for a different business, it would be a different image. It would be a different headline content. Obviously a different typography that suits the vibe and brand of your business, and you might have a different call to action, but you can see that you just simply change everything to suit your needs. It might be call now or get a quote. I don't know anyone who gets a quote for a yoga session, so this would be, you have the information, come and book now. Just to show you last thing, if we click on the button again, oh, I'm there. We have hover styles in effect. So if we click on hover here, we can change some of the properties for when the mouse is over the top. And that often is attention grabbing. It's quite good. And so let's change the background type. We've got it as a gradient right now. So we can, if I hover over, if I give it a white, you can see that becomes a bit more whoosh. And then we've got the pink there, and we don't really want that. So what we would like to do is bring that opacity down. We'd like that to be white. And so it's just grabbing a bit more attention. And maybe that's a bit more gray. And bring the opacity down. And I think that just looks subtle, but it's still quite nice. We could do things like change the text color on hover as well. So if we thought that looked great, then it's disco time. Let's go with that. But I'm going to stick with leaving it like that. Okay, so you can find some more advanced sort of how to style a headline videos on my channel, but obviously this is how to very quickly get that first banner together with a background image, headline, and then a call to action.
Hey there, it's Chris here. Thanks for watching the video. Please do like and subscribe and share and comment if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next course video.